move on to the Nigerian market update. We saw the NSE All-Share Index close at 33,298, which represents a gain of 0.17%. Now, that was largely on the back of gains that we saw in the banking stocks. The year-to-date performance of that index now stands at 18.6%. Now, joining me on the phone to discuss the Nigerian equities market is Peter Adebola. Now, Peter is the Managing Director of BGL Securities. Peter, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Didi.
Good morning, Peter. Now, of course, yesterday we saw the MPC decision out. We saw MPR rates unchanged at 12%, CRR unchanged at 12%, and liquidity ratio at 30%. We also, of course, know that the inflation rate for February went up to 9.5%. It will be interesting to know how brokers are soaking in this MPC decision.
Basically, the market is actually expecting that this is what will be the outcome of MPC decision, because we are looking at, since inflation rate has actually gone up, everybody is actually looking at the fact that there is likely for MPR to remain unchanged, and based on the liquidity in the system, in the banking system, everybody is also expecting that the liquidity ratio is likely to remain unchanged, as well as cash reserve ratio. However, looking at inflation rate at 9.5%, it is still the fact that, despite the fact that inflation rate has gone up slightly, we are still having real return for our fixed income in Nigeria, because we still have them, most of them having the rate above 10%. So even with this inflation rate of 9.5%, there is still real return on most of these fixed income securities that we have in Nigeria. So looking at this, all these figures are actually expected that the MPC will keep them unchanged. Now, looking at how it's going to affect the banking sector, we believe that since it is expected, the activities in the banking sector are likely to remain the same. So what we're going to see in the banking sector is actually when they begin to release their results, we're going to see a kind of positive reaction that is going to happen in all these sectors of the market. So we are expecting some of their results very soon, and we are going to see a lot of activities going up in the banking sector of the market. Thank you. Okay,
now, I mean, we know that sector has been up 22% year to date, and I mean, you do say that we expect to see a lot of activity on the back of the results that we're expecting. But I guess the question is, how much more gains can we expect to see in this sector this year?
Okay, when we look at this sector, there is likely to be a kind of uptrend in the banking sector. The reason being is that the market is actually awaiting the result of most of these banking stocks, and when they release these results, we're going to see a kind of uptrend. For some of them that are going to, we are expecting that the kind of return to shareholders that they're going to give in terms of dividend is likely to push most of their prices beyond what they are now. You can imagine most of the stocks in the banking sectors are having PE that is less than 10 times, and the dividend yield that is expected is likely to be more than 5%. So even if we stay at minimum of 5%, by the time they start releasing their results based on the information that analysts are giving, they are likely to see that there's going to be uptrend. For example, if a company is going to give a dividend, a dividend of 50 kobo per share, you are likely to see that the price will move to 10 naira. If the stock is going to give a dividend of 1 naira 50 kobo, you are going to see the price reaching 30 naira based on the benchmark set by the market. However, so if you look at their prices now, you will see that most of them are actually trading below their fair value. And that is why we see that if they release their results, you are likely to see a kind of uptrend in most of these banking stocks. So you will see that despite the fact that All-Share Index have gone down in the recent times, the banking sector remains flat or just mildly reduced, just because market is waiting for the information about their results. By the time all these results start reaching the market, we are likely to see that the prices will continue to move up again. And that is what we are likely to see any moment from now.